The robot's going to learn using neural networks or deep learning, if you will. Uh, Basically takes like hundreds or thousands of scenarios or objects or pictures, and it guesses outcomes or identifications or solutions, and you program that network then with the correct solution, and then it determines which observations from the original data input most led to the correct solution. And then it gives those more weight. So it will still consider the things that didn't seem to really matter, but it'll give them less weight. And so weighing all the factors going into something, it will predict the correct outcome more often. The more times you teach it the correct solution, and then it tweaks its weights of the various factors going in. So for example, in a basketball game, it could mark the position of every player on the defensive team and the position of every player on the offensive team and the direction they're all running and how fast they approached that end of the court and what the relative scores were and who has the ball and all these other factors, and it can predict whether the team on offense is about to score or not based upon all those factors. Before it happens, it will predict it, and it will end up wrong a lot of times, but if it gets enough data, it will eventually say, okay, usually if this guy's got the ball, they score. So it will give more weight to who has the ball. If the tallest guy on the guy has the ball and he's in the paint, he's probably going to dunk it. So that will improve the chances of the team scoring based on who has the ball and where they are. But if there's nobody around him, he's for sure going to dunk it. But then if there's like two of the biggest guys on the defensive team, even though there's more weight given to that big guy having the ball, if those factors play in, two big guys are also standing between him and the basket, then he's less likely to score. So it will factor that in. So all the factors combined will lead to him making appropriate predictions. And that's how it learns. And it can do that for all kinds of things, from identifying objects, like a cat. It'll say, okay, if it has this color fur, it's more likely to be a cat than a dog. If it has eyes with a little slit, it's more likely a cat than a dog. If it has really long whiskers past this length and facing in this orientation, it's more likely to be a cat than a dog. And so taking all kinds of observations, it will be able to identify cats versus dogs in a picture. So the job of the AI is to grab all the observations it can and then grab solutions and then see how the observations matched the right solution and then give more precedence to the right observations that best lead to the correct solutions more often. And so it gets smarter the more examples it's given. And that's how deep learning works. That's how neural networks work. And it's called deep learning also because it will do a lot of small baby steps. Like first, before it can determine whether it's a cat or dog, first it needs to determine, is it even an animal? So it will first try to detect little eyes and fur and the scale of the face and the size of the nose, and it will need to detect certain identifying qualifiers before it even determines, okay, this is an animal and it's most likely either a cat or dog. So it will break it down into small steps, eventually forming the opinion, yes, it is an animal and it is a small animal and it is a furry animal, but now is it a cat or dog? So it has to do a lot of steps leading up to it, and that's why they call it deep learning, because there's many layers in the algorithm that lead to the eventual, is this a cat or dog answer. Just giving it information and hoping it can predict properly, it won't. Unless if you give it also the solutions, then it back propagates, giving weights to its original observations or neurons in order to more likely come to the correct solution on the next time it's asked a question. So each time you tell it the right answer, it will take little notes basically and it'll be more likely to get the next answer in the future. And that's how it learns, by rearranging the weights on its neurons or observations of details of the situation. Um, AI can be abused in a lot of ways, like using it to create a bunch of email accounts and get past captchas and use those email accounts to spam people, or using it to cheat on video games by creating aimbots and stuff, or like there's all kinds of ways you can get an unfair advantage in the digital world with software solutions. You could even argue that high-speed trading algorithms and hedge funds that are aided by AI systems to make better predictions on financial aspects are unfair to the average investor. So again, that's um, a situation where it could be seen as being abused for sure. You could argue that it's abused if it's eventually used to replace workers who are only making $5 a day in China anyways. Now we use a robot, so they lose their job. That could be seen as an abuse of technology, but I mean, the idea is that once every job's replaced by robots, everybody will just not have to work. You'll have all that free time. You can do whatever you want. You could just go to Six Flags every day. So that's the end goal of technology. And so I don't think it's bad to displace people in jobs in the long run. But in the short term, it might be hard to find out how to make money. People have to adapt, just like during the Industrial Revolution, people had to adapt